Ladies and gentlemen, joining us for a very special conversation today, because many of our viewers have been asking, what is the Iranian position? You have Iranian experts, you have people from the Middle East, you have people from Washington and Tel Aviv joining you on your program. Why don't you get an official Iranian point of view? So we sent in a request, and with us today, I'm very happy that Esmaeil Baghaei is joining us. He's very high up in the circles in the Iranian government, the Iranian regime, which Trump says has already been overthrown. He is the Deputy Foreign Minister. He's the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Iran. He has been their permanent representative at the United Nations in New York. So he's had a very long diplomatic career, and I cannot think of anyone better than you to give the official Iranian perspective. So Mr. Baghaei, first of all, thank you for joining us on the Republic Media Network. It's great to have you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Baghaei, I go straight to the point now. We just had a press conference, a press briefing by Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary of the United States of America.
The War Secretary, in fact.
The War Secretary. Now, he says that there has already been a regime change. And he says there's an old regime and a new regime. Trump said there are three regimes. He said there was an old regime, then there was a new regime, and there's a third regime which has taken over. So my first question to you is there any other regime than your regime? Who heads your regime? Is there an alternative group of people from Iran who, to your information, are having a back-channel dialogue, an advanced back-channel dialogue with the Americans?
Let's see what is happening. Regardless of all the rhetorics, all the contradictory remarks, what happened as of 28 February is an act of war, an illegal war imposed on the Iranian nation. So we are talking about a country, a civilizational state that has come under an egregious act of aggression for a second time during the past 9 months. And you know, this was not the first time that the United States torpedoed the negotiating table while we were talking together and attacked a proud nation. For what? They don't know. They said because there was an imminent threat from Iran. Then Pentagon immediately rejected that. They said there was no imminent threat. They talked about Iranian nuclear program, Iranian nuclear weapon, something that has never existed. Our nuclear program has been absolutely peaceful. And by the way, in June, they claimed that they obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Everyone has come to recognize that this is a war of whims. This is an illegal war imposed not only on Iran, but also on the whole region, with the consequences for the whole international community. We are a united nation. We are a government that is coming from a popular revolution in 1979 as part of our right to self-determination. So whatever they say, they can say it for themselves, but what is clear is that we are a nation of resilience. We are a government that is coming from a popular revolution, and this is an efficient, sophisticated system, despite the fact that they assassinated our leader, our commanders. The whole nation is united in defending our territory, our sovereignty, and our dignity against this barbaric act of aggression.
But who is speaking to the United States of America? Because Trump claims that there is a negotiation going on, and he said that those who are negotiating with him have, as a gesture of goodwill, promised to send 20 boats full of oil through the Straits of Hormuz. He has shown that he's been talking about this as some kind of proof that there is a negotiation going on, which is being officially denied by you.
Look, there has been communication, there has been messages sent through mediators, including Pakistan, to Iran, requesting for diplomacy. But you can imagine what would be the reaction of not only Iranians, but also the whole international community toward the Americans' claim of diplomacy. We have already experienced that diplomatic overture with them. In June, they attacked Iran when we were negotiating. Just 1 day or 2 days before the 6th round of negotiation, this time on 28 February, just 2 days after we negotiated and we agreed to meet again in Vienna for discussing the technical details of a possible agreement. Again, they attacked Iran. So whenever they talk about diplomacy, everyone should approach it with a lot of suspicion. But apart from that, as I said, yes, there has been a communication, messages sent via mediators to Iran. Our position has been very clear. While we are under constant bombardment and missiles, our nation is focused on defending itself.
When was the message sent? Through Pakistan?
I think it's for some days now, around 1 week.
Around 1 week back. And may I ask you, Mr. Minister, what was the core message that was sent? Were there terms? It has been talk about 15 points. Was it very specific? What was the message sent?
I'm sure you do not expect me to go into details. Unlike Americans who like to talk about everything in public, we are not negotiating in public. As I said, there is no negotiating at all between Iran and the United States at the time because of the past experiences we had. But one thing is clear. Those messages that we have received from the mediators are clearly exhibiting their maximalist, unreasonable demands. And that's why Iranians are approaching those messages with a lot of suspicion. Again, what we are doing right now is just to not let any distraction, not to let anything distract us from the sacred work of defending our territory and our sovereignty against this act of aggression.
Just to follow up to that, you call these maximalist and unreasonable demands, and you've said you obviously cannot share all details with me on a television interview. But may I ask you, what is the message that you sent back?
As I said, our authorities have been discussing about those messages, and as soon as we decide to relay our messages through the mediators, we will do that.
So the question is, Mr. Baghaei, if I can follow through on that, the Americans have been suggesting, specifically President Donald Trump has been suggesting that he's speaking to someone apart from your regime, like not part of your existing government. He seems to suggest that this conversation, back channel or whatever diplomacy is going on, is happening with someone who has control of the situation, but is not part of your core group of the Islamic regime headed by Mojtaba Khomeini. He seems to suggest that it is someone else, suggesting some other person, who is having this conversation with you and who is likely to either not be part of you, away from you, or who can be an alternate power center who the Americans can place in charge. Some Delcy Rodriguez kind of figure, the reference I'm making to in the Venezuela case. Is there someone else, or are they talking to you? I just want to be totally clear on that. Are they talking to you indirectly, or are they talking to someone else who you don't know?
As I said, I cannot read the American authorities' mind, what they have in their mind. But one thing is sure. We have received messages through mediators, and those messages are being discussed, as is the case with respect to any government in similar situation. But what is important, what matters for the nation of Iran, for Iranian people right now, is just to keep defending themselves against this aggression. So I think we should not be distracted by all of these rhetorics.
Yes.
The nation is determined in defending itself, and that's what matters. That shows that the Iranian people are united in defending their territory, regardless of what they think or their wishful thinking about the situation in Iran.
Yeah, just so that you're such a seasoned bureaucrat, you measure every word. I'm also a seasoned journalist, so I want to make sure that I am not misquoting you in any way. When you say, and please forgive me for going on about this again and again, but when you say we have received messages, would I be right in reporting that it is the Islamic regime of Mujtaba, headed by Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khomeini, which has received the messages? Which would
can I request please not to use regime, because they are using this
government. I'm sorry, let's not go.
The government.
Yeah. So the Islamic government. The Islamic government of Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khomeini has received these indirect messages. Would that be appropriate to say that?
We are talking about the United Islamic Republic of Iran,
yes,
that represents the nation of Iran.
Yeah.
So we have one government in place in Iran that represents the whole nation. And that whole nation, represented by the Islamic Republic of Iran, represented by our brave armed forces, represented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, are all united in defending Iran. And as I said, for the time being, everyone is focused on defending Iran against this unprovoked, unwarranted act of aggression.
That's okay. That's absolutely clear. Why is Donald Trump then denying that he's trying to reach out to you? Why is the American president denying that they are trying to have a conversation with you? Why this?
Again, you see, I don't know. It's for the international community, for your audience to judge. But again, I think all these contradictory remarks show one thing, that the American authorities, the American administration really don't know why they have started this war in the first place. This is an illegal war imposed on the whole region with dire consequences for the whole international community. You may indicate the fact that the whole energy sector across the globe is affected by this war. This is not Iran's fault. This is the fault of those who initiated this war of aggression for no reason.
Yes. Now, moving on. Mr. Baghaei, is Iran in a position to fight if there is a ground offensive? Question one. Question two, do you expect a ground offensive? There has been a lot of speculation about the ground offensive, and Iran has said, I read your media, the Tehran Times says, welcome to hell. We will send back the American troops in coffins. Is that a resolve? Is that a threat? Is that posturing at your end? And what is your expectation about the likelihood of a ground invasion by the American Marine troops which are hanging around that region?
You see, this is a disgraceful war. This is one of the most unjust, dishonorable war that is imposed on a civilization. You can see the pictures behind me. They are 175 innocent students and their teachers who were brutalized, who were killed in cold blood on 28 February in the first hours of their attack against Iran. So they know no boundary in their war of aggression against Iran. We have to be prepared for every scenario. Our armed forces have shown the resolve, the determination to fight back, because we are talking about our homeland unjustly attacked by the United States and Israel. So the whole nation is fully determined to make them regret about their attack and about any eventual ground invasion. So our armed forces should be prepared for every scenario, for sure.
What is your intelligence? Are the Americans actually closing in on islands like Karg or Larak or Keshem? Because for the USS Tripoli to come into the Gulf, it would have to first cross the Strait of Hormuz. Do you see that happening? We've been talking about it. The whole world wants to understand today, because this is an important interview, Mr. Baghaei. I'm sure people around the world will watch this as well. What is your intelligence? Are the Americans ready to do that? And what is your level of preparation if that were to happen?
As I said, when they started this illegal war, they have shown that they are prepared to commit any crime, any illegal action to further their war objectives. So we have to be prepared for every scenario. We cannot rule out any adventurism by them. So that's why our armed forces have prepared themselves for countering any and every scenario in case they commit similar invasion, including the one you referred to. So we have to be prepared for every scenario, because we are talking about two nuclear armed regimes that have shown they do not respect any boundary, any legal or moral guideline in doing their war crime.
Pete Hegseth claims that your morale is low. He said the morale is low, they don't have many missiles left. The number of missiles being fired is going down because America has a lot of options according to him, but Iran does not have options. He is claiming that you're running out of drones, you're running out of missiles, you're running out of equipment, and that your morale is low. And he has said that you have to take the ceasefire deal now, or there will be 500 bombings on you overnight every time. So your response to that, sir?
That's fine. Let them think so. The Iranians have shown that they are a patriotic nation. And everyone knows that this is an unjust war imposed on Iran. So I'm sure that we will demonstrate our resolve to fight for our homeland with all we have. They have already committed this huge mistake by similar calculus, by similar erroneous calculations. They should not have attacked Iran in the first place, because not only this is an illegal war, but also because this is a strategic mistake. So as I said, our people, our armed forces, the whole nation are prepared for every scenario.
How is Mojtaba Khomeini? Trump has been saying that I don't know if he's alive or dead. He's very, very seriously wounded. He's incapacitated. How is Mojtaba Khomeini? Because Trump keeps saying that the second regime was Mojtaba Khomeini. He claims the second regime is over. Now there's a third regime. Can you clarify on record what is his condition? How is he? And how active is he at this time?
He is fine, first. Secondly, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, is not a one-man rule. Every Iranian is a leader. Every Iranian has learned to defend their homeland in a very patriotic manner. Look what happened on 28 February. At the same time that they targeted our leader, our supreme leader's compound, also attacked an elementary school in the city of Minab, south of Iran. They killed more than 170 innocent people, okay? And they thought that by assassinating our leader and our high commanders, they would see the collapse of the nation of Iran. This didn't happen, because we have learned through our history, through the past 5 decades in particular, that each and every one of us has our own responsibility toward our homeland. So I'm sure that the people of Iran will teach them a good lesson, that every Iranian will act as if they are a commander, a leader, a soldier.
Well, let me tell you this, and I'm taking a little detour from our interview, but let me tell you this, Mr. Baghaei, that we were horrified at what happened in Minab. We were horrified at what happened in Menab, and we did ask the Americans that you spoke so much about what happened in Bucha, in Ukraine, where children and innocent people were killed and mass buried. Why do you deny that a tomahawk hit Menab? And I can tell you it's only after 3 days of questionings that the Americans indirectly accepted that they were responsible for that. But what I was horrified by, and so many people were horrified by, was the attitude that this was a corollary or a collateral damage of the war. And may I say this on behalf of all the people across India, and I presumably can speak on most people's behalf, and on Republic, that was terrible, and our deepest condolences to you for what happened to the school children in Menab who were part of a deliberate strike. I just wanted to say that to you personally before moving on to my next question.
Can I say something on this particular issue?
Yes.
This was only the tip of the iceberg.
Why is that?
Because it was not the only case. It has been happening during the past 32 days. Just New York Times verified the already known fact that a new untested missile was used to attack another similar school or sport hall in La Merde in Fars province. They killed around 20 innocent girls and boys. So this was not a single incident. This was part of a pattern, because you see what their Secretary of War said. They said no stupid rule of engagement, no mercy, no headquarters.
Yeah.
And according to Geneva Convention, all of these rhetoric signify that they have the intent to commit war crimes. That is the public incitement to war crimes. The fact that the President of the United States threatens Iran with annihilating our energy sector, our desalination plant, our water plants, it means that they are publicly inciting for war crimes. And my friend, this is a reversion to barbarism, to pre-World War II. So I think the whole international community must be alarmed at the level of atrocity and brutality that they have demonstrated for the past 32 days with respect to Iranians. This will not be stopped in Iran. This is alarming because this will create a precedent, a pattern in warfare. And no one will be immune from this pattern, because from now on, there would be no Geneva Convention of 1949 that prohibits targeting of civilians. There would be no respect for the most important pillar of the United Nations Charter, which is Article 2, Paragraph 4, prohibition of the use of force. That's why I'm saying that each and every member of the international community must stand up to this injustice, because this is not only against Iran as a member of United Nations, it is against the whole international community and against the whole civilization.
Now, Mike, I take that, Mr. Minister. Now, what is happening? What is your intention with the Strait of Hormuz? You know, the concern is, and where you are getting some negative press and negative attention, is the accusation against you that you will be charging for passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, either you will use that to take your geographic access and location to your advantage economically, or you will use it as a global leverage, that countries which are friendly with you, which have good relations with you, let their ships pass. But for countries which are not, you will either block their ships, you will create difficulty in international trade. I think it was Netanyahu or someone in Israel who said that there must be an oil pipeline through the Mediterranean to try and make sure that you do not use your unfair advantage over the Strait of Hormuz to hold one part of the world to ransom. So I really want you, Mr. Baghaei, to clarify your position on the Strait of Hormuz. What is your intention? Are you planning to use it as a chokehold for the world?
Again, another misrepresentation of facts. The fact is that Iran is a coastal state of Strait of Hormuz, beside Oman. So Oman and Iran are the two coastal states. We have been the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz for the past 5 decades and more than that. The reason why we have decided to adopt certain measures with respect to passage of ships and vessels in the Strait of Hormuz is very clear, because we are at war with the United States and Israel and their supporters. So can we, as the coastal state, allow the warring parties, the aggressors, to abuse this waterway for furthering their act of aggression against Iran? So I think every coastal state in similar situation would take similar measures in order to take care of their national security against these acts of aggression. But as you know, there have been many ships and vessels that have already passed through the Strait of Hormuz safely after necessary coordination with our authorities. And that coordination is simply to make sure that the passage would be done in a safe, secure manner. We can talk about some Indian vessels, for instance, that have already passed through the Strait of Hormuz without facing any problem.
Yes, of course, and I'm glad you picked that up because, you know, the world's most populous nation, the largest country in the world in terms of population, we are very concerned about, you know, LPG ships passing through, and it's necessary to maintain enough buffer in India, you know, for our large population. So for all our viewers watching in India, what takeaway should they have? Because, you know, you represent the foreign ministry. Is Iran going to let ships pass on a case-by-case basis if they are coming to India, or is it a free passage?
You know how much Iranian nation respects Indians. We feel really close to the Indian people because of our historical cultural bonds. So this is with respect to India-Iran relationship. And there have been many contacts between our foreign ministers, India and Iran's foreign ministers, to ensure that passage. Again, the point is that the insecurity imposed on the Strait of Hormuz is not because of Iran's action. The Strait of Hormuz was open before 28 February. So they're trying to reopen something that was open before the start of this war. What can we do, my friend, during this difficult situation? Our national security is at stake. The aggressors are using every possibility to harm the nation of Iran. They are abusing the territories of the countries. And this is not a secret, that they have been using their military bases, their military assets that are scattered around Iran for conducting their military aggression against Iran. These measures that have been taken by our armed forces on the Strait of Hormuz is simply to make sure that non-hostile vessels and ships would be able to pass through the Strait of Hormuz without facing any security problem. So they are claiming that the Strait of Hormuz is shut down by Iran. That's not true. As I said, these are the measures taken during wartime in order to make sure that the passage is being done in a safe manner. At the same time, those ships and vessels that are related or belong to the aggressors would not be able to through, because we are concerned about our national security. Those ships and vessels belonging to the aggressors could abuse this waterway in order to inflict harm against Iranians.
So it's an important point you've clarified. You've said this is a wartime measure, which does not mean that Iran intends, once the war is over, which we hope will be soon, to permanently or intentionally block the Strait of Hormuz, because that is the way it is being presented by the Americans, that unless Iran is stopped, it will permanently block the Strait of Hormuz. So I'm glad you've clarified that, Mr. Minister. Now, the Americans also say that they, if necessary, will send their warships to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And they've asked for help from NATO countries, which has not been very forthcoming. as you know. But do you think it's possible to do, somebody suggested the idea of joint patrolling. Joint patrolling. And I said on my program yesterday, how can there be joint patrolling by the Iranians and the Americans of the Strait of Hormuz? Can there be any joint patrolling to keep the area open? Can there be a maritime conflict if America were to try and forcibly push its warships through to maintain passage through the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, you see, they are trying to drag everyone into their illegal war. In a way, they try to find new complicit in their war crimes, in the crime of aggression against Iran. And I think every nation must really take care not to be dragged into this trap, because this is a war against a whole nation, a whole region. So I'm glad that the international community is recognizing the fact that this is a war of whims imposed by the United States, perhaps on behalf of Israel against Iran. So that's why many nations refrain from getting into this imposed conflict. Just to clarify on your previous question concerning the Strait of Hormuz, as I said, these measures was taken after we were attacked by the United States and Israel in order to make sure that this strait would not be abused by their vessels. What will happen after the end of the war? I don't know, because we cannot allow that this passage, this waterway would be abused again in future. So why not thinking about some measures, some mechanisms with the participation of the relevant states in the region, in particular Oman, to make sure that this passage, this waterway would be monitored in a way to make sure that all the vessels and ships would be able to pass through without facing any problem. Safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz is something that we are contemplating.
My next question is the nuclear question. Mr. Baghaei, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to clarify to the whole world where you have kept the 500 kilograms of enriched uranium. You see, there were attacks in Isfahan, and every time these attacks happen, the American media and the rest of the Western media says this is Trump's attempt to get the highly enriched uranium which the Iranians have been hiding. So are you hiding the highly enriched uranium? If so, what is the intention? Where is it placed? Obviously, you will not tell me. But why don't you clarify once and for all, Mr. Baghaei, your position on the highly enriched uranium, which Trump accuses you of continuing to hide? He almost suggests that if you were to hand over the highly enriched uranium, the war would end. And repeatedly, almost 7 or 8 times in a press conference, they say Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. So the whole question comes on the highly enriched uranium. What is your official position on that, Mr. Baghaei?
And I think this is another distraction from the very fact that Iran has not been seeking nuclear weapon. Our nuclear program, which originates from 1960s, 1970s, is absolutely peaceful. I'm sure you know that Iran has been a member of NPT as of 1970. Iran has been the main advocate for Middle East free from nuclear weapon as of 1974. So from 1984 until now, for the past 4 decades, Israel has been always talking about Iran getting nuclear weapon. That has been a very big lie. Our nuclear program has been safeguarded, has been inspected by the IAEA. You're talking about that highly enriched uranium?
Yeah.
That's hidden. That's not hidden, that's under the rubble, because in June, they attacked our safeguarded facilities. And this is, again, another big lie. Having highly enriched uranium, and this is not a secret, this has been reported by IAEA, because all those materials, all those facilities, including that highly enriched uranium, was under the monitoring by the IAEA. They attacked our facilities in June, and they said that they annihilated our facilities. So still they are repeating the same lie, trying to distract the whole international community of the fact that in our region, it is only Israel that has nuclear weapon. Iran has been seeking nuclear weapon. It is banned under our Islamic precepts. It is banned under our military doctrine. So this is a very big lie that they have been concocting for the past 2 decades about Iran's nuclear program. That simply doesn't exist.
But they're saying that you were on the precipice, you were on the very edge of developing a nuclear weapon, and that would be an existential issue for Israel.
That's not simply true. That's, again, something that they have cooked. They have been propagating for the past 2 decades. Look, if they were really concerned about Iran's nuclear program being weaponized, why didn't they stay in Iran's nuclear deal? Why did they withdraw from JCPOA in 2018? Show me one single paragraph in IAEA's reports that Iran is deviating from peace purposes. IAEA confirmed in his consecutive reports from 2015 until 2019 that Iran's performance was impeccable. So the reason why they withdrew from the JCPOA was very simple. They simply didn't like the previous administration's job. That's why they decided to withdraw from the deal. And we tried so many times to strike a new deal, but they torpedoed the negotiating table. They were not serious. That's why our nation believes that the whole scenario, that the whole nuclear issue was simply a pretext, an excuse to pressurize and attack Iran.
Now, you have expanded the scope of the war. You've escalated the scope of a war. It was tactic. And in the first 3 or 4 days, you surprised the whole world by attacking several countries within that region. Are you pulling back on that? I mean, why are you attacking Dubai, for example? You know, that tactic, do you think it's overlived its utility? Do you intend to continue targeting and attacking and firing missiles at drones at neighboring countries there?
My friend, this is not attack. Let me put it, literally speaking, the right words and tone. We are not attacking any country. We are defending ourselves. First, we are defending ourselves against the aggression by the United States and Israel. Secondly, we are fighting back against the origin of those attacks. Can you deny the fact that many of those strikes, many of those missiles that are being fired at Iran are coming from the United States military bases that are located in the Persian Gulf countries? I can give you many examples, including those higher mass missiles that were shot from the territory of a Persian Gulf state to Kershim Island desalination water. Again, they have used military bases in Saudi Arabia to target Iran. We have said it, and we repeatedly say that we have no animosity, no hostility toward our Arab neighbors. We really are determined to continue our good neighborliness relations with all Arab countries of the region. But what else shall we do? The United States and Israel are abusing the airspace, the military bases that are stationed in Arab countries for attacking Iran. And under international law, we are entitled to use everything at our disposal to counter those aggressions. So what we are doing is exercising our inherent right of self-defense enshrined in Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. We have called upon our neighbors, please, do not let your airspace, your territory, your installations, your assets be used by the United States to attack Iran. And I think that's what still we demand from our neighboring countries, from the Persian Gulf countries to do.
2 more questions, because I know you have a really busy schedule, but I'm going to take 2 more questions. Mr. Baghaei, please set the record straight. Are you getting intelligence support from Russia or China and military hardware from China? You see, you signed an agreement, a strategic defense agreement with the Russians. So they are in a way entitled to support you. but have they sent S-400 missiles in AN-135 Antonov planes, transport aircraft reported landing in Iran? Are they giving you military equipment at this stage to fortify yourself? And are you also getting intelligence support? My direct question to you is, let me not be diplomatic about it, are you getting active support from China and Russia directly or indirectly in this war?
You know, we are a nation that has learned through its history, particularly for the past decades, to rely on itself for defending its territory. Look, we had to experience 8 years war with Saddam Hussein, who was supported, literally speaking, by almost everyone, including the superpowers at that time. So we learned to rely on ourselves in defending our territories. The missiles, the drones that are being used by our armed forces are all made inside Iran. So again, this war has learned us that we have to rely on ourselves. Of course, we have cooperation with friendly countries, including Russia and China. And according to the cooperation agreements we have, we use those mechanisms. But as I said, as far as defense is concerned, we are 100% relying on our own capacities and capabilities.
Okay, just, you began by saying that, yes, we have received messages. And you said it clearly that the United Islamic Republic of Iran has received messages through Pakistan for some kind of a mediation into the war. You said that the positions taken by America in this mediation was very maximalist and unreasonable, but you're a diplomat. You know that's how negotiations start. Both sides take very maximalist positions, and then they find some common ground. Is there a basic message that you can send? Because the whole world, including all of us here in India, want this to end, Mr. Baghaei, right? You fought hard, you fought more than any country in the world expected you to fight, and you have won the admiration of several people for punching well above your weight, as was expected by people. However, now, is there a basic condition that Iran would have for the talks, for an effective ceasefire? Like, is there something you would say that can be a condition from your side for there to be talks? You sort of indicated in the beginning that perhaps stopping the bombings would be some such measure, but I wanted you to put it in your own words, sir.
Look, this is the second time during the past 9 months that the Iranian nation is coming under these unjust attacks. So we have to make sure that this cycle of negotiation season again, this war would not repeat again. This is very important. We are a responsible nation, not only toward our own people, but also toward our region. So we want to see the whole region in peace. And that's the message the Iranian nations have always trying to communicate to the region and to the whole international community. And that's why, in the first place, we agreed to go to negotiating table, despite the fact that the Americans had attacked us in June. So we acted responsibly. We tried to resolve this issue through diplomacy, but again, they betrayed diplomacy. We have to make sure that this cycle would not be repeated again.
What would that be? What would that be?
We have to make our enemies regret about their actions. We have to show to them that they cannot act like this, recklessly and arbitrarily launching a war of aggression against Iran, and after some time saying that let's have a ceasefire, prepare for another war, and again targeting Iran. So this cycle, this vicious cycle, which is very bad for the whole region, very detrimental for international peace and security, must stop. And that's why the nation of Iran is determined to fight back as long as it takes.
So talks can happen only after the bombings stop?
Can you imagine that when a nation is under constant bombardment and attack, then we go to negotiating table to say what? So again, as I said, our nation has to focus 100% on defending itself. Look, my friend, Iran is attacked by two nuclear-armed regimes. They have shown no mercy. They have shown every brutality in attacking our people, attacking residential areas, schools, hospitals, our
That's right.
universities. So that's why our people are determined to stay strong and fight back.
What's your message to Israel?
No message.
No message for Israel. How long can you really fight? How long can you fight? I mean, you keep saying that went on for 8 years, completely history, but that was more than 20 years back. How long can you continue this?
Okay, let me remind you of something.
Yes, sir.
When Saddam Hussein attacked Iran, his main commander went to him in 1981, I guess, and said, "Sir, we have started attacking Iran, and in 20 minutes, our airplanes, our fighter jets will shot their bombs on Iranian cities and villages, and within 1 week, we will be in Tehran." They couldn't. It took 8 long years. We suffered a lot, but our nation showed that when it comes to our homeland, when it comes to the security of Iran, we will fight with every possibility, and we will not stop fighting as long as we make our enemies regret about their act of aggression. So yes, it was more than 4 decades ago, but still they are the same nation, the same people, the same soldiers, with much more experience after these 5 decades.
Mr. Baghaei, do you worry about your own security? Just a personal question to end with, the way the strikes continue. Very high-profile man you are in the Iranian government. Do you worry about yourself? I mean, because your answer will give me a sense of how the leadership you're a very visible man. You're very visible, very high up there. Do you and the current members of the Iranian Republic worry about your security personally?
Look, I'm a simple soldier in diplomacy. So I'm doing what other Iranian nations, every person is doing. Everyone is trying to defend their homeland in their own function. I'm a diplomat. Those who are soldiers, those who are commanders are doing their own job. We have to be ready to sacrifice ourselves for the sake of our homeland. This is our homeland. This is not a country that has come to us in a cheap way. We have made a lot of sacrifices for the past, I can tell you, millennia. So this is a civilizational state. This is a nation that is proud. This is a nation that believes that this is an unjust war. So I think my life doesn't matter. What matters is Iran as a great nation, as a great civilization. And I'm sure that with this spirit, with this morale, we can defeat our enemies.
Well, it has been a pleasure and a privilege to talk to you. I must say, Mr. Baghaei, that you're an excellent spokesperson for your country. We're following things very, very closely on the ground. Do stay safe, and we will stay connected. On behalf of everyone at the Republic Media Network, thank you so much, Mr. Baghaei, for speaking to me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं, इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से रणनीति बना रही है, हर निर्णय ले रही है। देश की जनता का हित हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है।
अरे मेरे राजा,
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi and National Law School Bengaluru.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट,